Welcome back, everyone, to the Garden of Edun podcast. First thing is, Happy New Year, and a thank you to everyone who watched in 2020 when the pod came out, 2021, and again right now in 2022 and beyond. Who knows who could listen to this in the next 5, 10, 25, 30, 100 years. So yeah, thank you to all of you. So the reason I'm doing this video is because as I'm making a bid to increase the production quality of the podcast, some errors have occurred, and with this video my whole video file has failed for some reason, so I've had to use images to consolidate part of this podcast. Also, there may be some feedback noises coming through in the sound, so apologies for that too. I just hope that you guys can still get some value from the podcast, and you know, that you're patient with me as I try and increase the production quality of the pod so you guys can enjoy what comes out of it a lot more, frankly. But yeah, thank you again for watching this video and any other podcast episodes that I've done. And yeah, stay tuned for more, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. Bless. Welcome to the Garden of Edun. Dammy be asking the questions. For the answers that you want to hear, all you gotta do is sit back, grab a chair, or listen up while you clean and cook. Take a leaf from the creative's book. These gems open your mind and your heart. Okay, the show's gonna start. Cheese! Welcome back, everyone, to the Garden of Edun podcast. I'm your host, Dammy Edun, and this is where ideas grow. Today we have a different, special kind of guest on today. My guy, Liam Courtney. Liam, how you doing, bro?
I'm feeling good, man. Feeling relaxed. Everything's good. What about you?
Yeah, man. As we were talking about just before we started, just feeling grateful, you know, like we're in 2022 now. Made it through another year of this new world. So yeah, man, things are good. So for people that don't know, Liam is a skateboarder, and not just a skateboarder. Man's been in the game for almost 2 decades at this point. So we're talking seasoned in this thing.
It's been fun.
He's also a content creator on Instagram and YouTube, things around skateboarding, as well as some pieces that I think have arisen from your own self-reflection. But I'm sure we'll get into that a bit more as we go through the podcast. And for some people that might be listening and may know myself, yourself, or both of us, to give you a bit of context on our relationship, we both went to the same school, Chadwell Heath.
Big
Get
up.
to know. I mean,
Decent
school. Decent. It was okay. It was all right.
It was fun.
Did the job. Yeah. You learn your ABCs and all that. So
yeah.
And your P's and Q's and them
Trust
things
me.
there. But yeah, man, from my time knowing you at school, like, you've always been a cool guy. Shout out to your bro, Sean, as well. Memorable twins in the setup.
There were so many twins in our year that at the end of year 10, we did a competition of who had the best twins, and we didn't win it. You
didn't?
Didn't win it.
Blasphemous, fam.
Bro, me and him were gonna get up, innit? We were like, what? Nah. But we're not going to get into that because, you know, the guys who won might watch this and I don't want to leave. So it's cool.
Yeah. But yeah, one of the things I noticed is that you've been posting like a lot of your skateboarding content online, and I've been seeing you in bare different places. Like I was saying the other day, like in Streatham, man's in Aberdeen, man's in loads of different places around the country. So I'm like, okay, raw. Okay, man's active nationwide. So it'll be good to have a chat with you on that, and also like the skill set that you've grown, because, you know, being in something for over 2 decades is like, that requires a lot of commitment, hard work, and there's so many lessons that I imagine you get from that that can apply to a lot of other people picking up various different skill sets. And so I think this would be a good conversation to have, man.
Yeah, cool. I mean, that was quite a nice little introduction. I have to give a little clap there. Right, so.
I have to make my guests feel good, man.
Yeah. But yeah.
So yeah, where I really want to start off is I think around the idea of people finding their passion in their lives right now, especially because the pandemic has given a lot of people a chance to reflect on what they're doing with their lives and steer it in a direction that I guess works for them. And I think a lot of things that can help sometimes is looking back on, your younger ages and some of the...
And anyone who's watching or listening, if you haven't found that yet, I teach skateboarding. Try it out. I teach in London. Anyway, back to it. What are you saying? Just had to plug myself there.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. But, some people start things at quite young ages and, eventually drop them and kind of lose their way with that passion and are trying to find it somewhere else. And what I find interesting about you, obviously, is that you started skateboarding a long time ago and have still managed to and are still, follow that passion to this day. So yeah. I'm curious to understand how you got started with skateboarding, and then more importantly, what do you love about it and what has kept you in the skateboarding game in your adult ages? Because I imagine the reasons for doing it have changed, or there's things that have come in your life which have potentially challenged that, and you've had to adapt and still, maintain that passion. So yeah, I'd love to hear more about that, and I think people listening could get some value from it. So yeah.
Okay. Well, to start off, because there's a lot there. I started skateboarding because my mum bought me a skateboard. That's it. One day, she just came back home and had 2 skateboards, one for me, one for my twin brother. And that's literally how we started skating. I was 11 years old, and prior to that, I hadn't really thought about skateboarding, but I remember anyway. I don't remember ranting and raving about skateboarding or that being something that really stood out to me, other than maybe playing the Tony Hawk's games and stuff. But yeah, so it was just another... I enjoyed trying things out. I was good at a lot of things in school, although I wasn't good at school. I was good at a lot of things in school, if you get what I mean. Like, I was good at art. I just enjoyed a lot of things. But nothing stuck quite like skateboarding, because it was just something that I could just pick up, go outside, and then learn a new trick. And there was always something new to learn. This is something that really captivated me. And while playing the Tony Hawk's games, and you got all these different tricks that you can learn on the game, I'm like, so I could try that too, and that, and there's no limitations for it. And I could just go out and always have fun, always learn. That excited me so much that it always drove me to go outside. And there was to a point where I couldn't actually focus in school even more, because I was just thinking about the next time I could grab my skateboard after school and learn the next trick, or practice on a trick that I couldn't get out of my head until I landed. And that aspect of skateboarding is what stuck with me this whole time, because it is so diverse. The world becomes a skate park, basically.
Hey there, Garden of Edun podcast listeners. Sorry to interrupt this episode. I just wanted to say thank you for watching and listening. If you get value from this podcast, from the guests sharing their perspectives on their journeys, I would appreciate if you could share this with maybe 1 or 2 people that you know will get something out of it. If you like the podcast, please subscribe or follow it on whichever audio platform you're listening to it on. We've got more exciting content coming up with athletes, musicians, comedians, journalists, sharing their journeys towards mastery. And now back to the show.
You see the world so differently because you're looking everywhere you go. You're thinking, Like, if you might be on the bus, say I'm traveling with someone who's not a skateboarder. I'm sitting on the bus looking out the window and I'm like, that's a skate spot. That's a skate spot. And they're like, raw, like you really see the world differently to everyone else. I'm like, yeah, man. I'm documenting these places so I can come back to them and skate them. And I'm thinking about the tricks that I can do there. And
mad. That's mad.
Yeah. So it makes life more fun. I have to say, I do have to say, and it just keeps you creative. And yeah, it gets to a point where once you fully realize what skateboarding is, it's more than a hobby. Anyone who thinks it's a hobby, it becomes a lifestyle, it becomes a way of life. So yeah, that's what's kept me on this path this whole time.
Yeah, and would you say that the lens that you were saying that you see the world in, that has stuck the same? Like you can't that has been the same for life, basically. Anywhere you go.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of captivated me in the way that I have no say in the matter anymore. Like for the rest of my life, including if, past the point of, my body deteriorating and not being able to skate anymore, I will still see the world like a skate park. I'm pretty sure. It's just how it goes,
Yeah, that's amazing. I've never heard of it like that. Do you know?
Yeah.
Because I know I don't do that. Do you know what I mean? I don't look around the world thinking, oh, I could.
You wouldn't look at that stair set over there and think, oh, I could do like a hard flip down that, Oh, I see a rail outside someone's house, I'd be like, oh, I could skate that. Someone just looks at a house and thinks, oh, that's a house with maybe a handrail. Maybe an older lady lives there and she needs help getting out of her. I'm thinking, if I open the door, then maybe I can like roll through the house and pop onto the rail, That's
crazy, man.
Literally.
That is crazy. Did you like on that, have you spoken to anyone else who also like has the same view, or is it do different people have different ideas?
All skateboarders. And obviously because and it's down to creativity. When I say all skateboarders, I don't just mean anyone who owns a skateboard. I mean someone who's like really been captivated in the lifestyle. And as you, the more you delve into skateboarding, you realize it's growing because more and more people, especially during lockdown last year, more people had less to do. So a lot of people were picking up skateboarding. Nowadays, whenever I go out, I meet so many people that are like, oh yeah, I started skating last year. I started skating this year. This is the perfect opportunity for people to pick it up again. If you want to learn, I'm your guy.
Liam's your guy, man.
Yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. 18 years now it's been. Teaching for 5 years. I've got a qualification in it. So it's done a lot for me. It has, So.
Yeah. And talking on the fact that you've been doing it for 18 years, obviously, like in that time, I'm guessing you've had to intentionally improve your skills. So like for me, for example, doing this podcast, one of the things I like to do is I do just like listening to podcasts in general, but I also like watching how people host podcasts. So the certain things they do, where they leave gaps for people to speak, or at what points in the conversation they interject, or how they like manage the conversation so that they don't steer too far away from the core topic. All those little nuances I'm actually intentionally watching for as well. So for you, within like the skateboarding context, how like would you say that a lot of your learning has been intentional, or have you just like followed kind of your intuition and just like gone, okay, I think I'm going to do this now, or all right, I'm just going to do that, rather than like plotting out how you're going to improve?
This is a great question, I have to say. So obviously at some point you do want to master your craft, especially if, you've decided to dedicate your life to it and see it out through the long haul. However, I feel like majority of the time, my growth has come from just enjoying it so much that I'm just captivated in the moment. And That is one thing that I have had to check myself with, because my growth and the way I've grown throughout the years has needed to be adapted, because how do I put it? I've learned a lot of tricks, and then there's a point where you can get complacent with how much you've learned, because you can go out and do a whole bunch of tricks that you've learned. However, there's another level to it, and that level comes with difficulty, fear and danger, and also technical ability, putting A with B, do you know? So like if you learn how to kickflip and you learn how to nose grind, are you then going to learn how to kickflip into a nose grind? And then when you master that, are you going to try and kickflip out of the nose grind, you know? These are things that I had to force myself to think about, because I'll personally get the same satisfaction from just doing a kickflip and then a nose grind. But in order to advance my skills, I have to force myself to work on the kickflip to nose grind. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it has been a matter of implementing discipline to myself, which I'm still working on. But yeah, great question.
Where would you say along the point that you realized you had to change the way you were learning then? Like where along that point in time would you say, like in that 18 years period, just out of curiosity?
I would say it was pushed by being sponsored, being in the mix of the best skateboarders in the UK,
right?
Having a lot more eyes on me and being somewhat, because I didn't work towards being someone who was gonna be known in the skate scene. I didn't work up to it. I didn't expect it to happen. So when I did, oh man, I felt a lot of pressure. I felt it's almost like I could hear everyone's judgments. Like, he's got these sponsors, but can you do this? Can you do that? And I'm doing it to myself as well, because I'm looking at the better skaters, or the guys that I consider better skaters, and I'm experiencing like imposter syndrome, because I'm like, these guys can do that. And I look at that spot, I go to that spot and look at it and be like, there's no way I'm ever doing that. It can knock your confidence, and you go, okay, so cool. So I'm not going to do that. So I need to work on this. And you're really hard on yourself. And sometimes you have to check yourself and be like, you know what? Let me remind myself why I do this. And look, if I am sponsored, if you do get sponsored, then those sponsors mess with you as you are, you know? So you don't need to put too much pressure on being X, Y, and Z. Just take it step by step and continue to love it like you do. And that's all you need, really.
Yeah, man. I fully hear that, you know. I think that's a good lesson for a lot of people, because I think when you get sponsored, as you said, like you notice with a lot of content creators, they'll get sponsored and they might start making content just a bit different from what they were doing before. Like it's lost
100%.
some of its natural essence. And it's almost like you want to tell them, yo, just keep doing your thing as you were doing it, because that's what made these people come and get you, and all of us start watching in the first place.
Yep.
That authenticity. Yeah.
A specific someone springs to mind when you say that. But I'm not going to call anyone out. But
no.
It's just sad to see, because you think, like, I knew who you were, and then overnight you changed. Overnight, because you blew up. And I meet them, and you know, they're still great people, but they're portraying themselves in a different light, because now they got all these followers. Here's what it is.
Yeah.
I saw that almost happening to me, and I had to have some serious talks with myself, because I could see I wanted to change how I was dressing. I wanted to change how I express myself and the kind of videos that I put out. As you can see, there's less judgment on my part with myself. I do it how I do it, how I want to do it, regardless of whether it, you know. I'm a real believer in self-expression. Express yourself exactly how is authentic to you. Don't be Don't be expressing yourself for other people to be accepted by other people. You will be accepted eventually as long as you accept yourself, and people will catch on. People will see that you love yourself, and you attract a different kind of crowd. I have to say that, because there's two different kind of crowds you can attract. If you're not being yourself and you're trying to attract, the fake audience, you're gonna have a fake audience, and then at some point you're gonna have to realize that. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, and then it's like, what? You're not the guy that. You're not doing this anymore. But
100%.
We don't care about this thing you're trying to
Yeah.
do. We only want to see this thing. Yeah.
Start as you mean to go on. Start as you mean to go on.
Nah, that's a strong lesson. That's a strong lesson. It is easy to get caught in the hype, I think, because if the hype is numbers and money and acceptance and all that kind of stuff outside of yourself. But yeah, man, I think authenticity is a true winner. I think it's just easier for yourself because then you focus on the right things, which, like you were saying, you focus on your craft rather than all the other things that are outside your craft. You focus on how am I improving, how am I aligning myself to where I want my skill set is.
You don't want to get to the top and have to completely rebuild yourself. You wanna be who you are to get to that level,
Yeah, facts, man, facts. Just out of curiosity, actually, how would you say things have changed from when you started learning to now? Especially because the internet has matured so massively, and might not have been at the scale that it was in the past. Do you feel like now there's a lot more competition in the scene because now there's more access to it get better essentially? And how do you navigate that yourself?
Skateboarding is quite a unique one because everyone still does do it for themselves ultimately. So if there is any competition, it's because you got an influx of clips that you got to watch. Especially if you're a skateboarder following thousands of other skateboarders, and obviously there's a lot of Instagram pages of the best clips that you can see around the world. You got all of these and you're watching it, and sometimes it can kind of knock your confidence because you're scrolling through and watching all these mad tricks, and that can motivate you but can also knock you. But I don't know. I feel like you just got to stay you, as we said before, because you can get caught up in that too much. That this is kind of why I don't watch too much skateboarding. I like to watch UFC. I like to watch boxing. Just other things that aren't skateboarding, so I can take my mind off of it. I like to keep skateboarding too when I'm skateboarding. That's where I want to put all my focus to. So this is where I'm different. I guess other people might constantly be in competition with each other, but usually skateboarders are quite healthy in competition. So it's all just a bit of fun and games, So
no, that's understood. I hear it because sometimes there are podcasts that I like listening to, but I find I always have to catch myself sometimes and go, okay, I know the reason I'm watching this is because I feel a little something like how am I compared to this one? And then I have to check myself and go, if I'm not listening to this for entertainment or for a genuine, a detached place of assessing how I could improve, then it's not helping because it's going to feed some insecurity in me. And then I have to hold that in me, if that makes sense. I have to go,
allow the observation to be natural.
Yeah.
Allow it to be natural. But like you said, detach from it. Because if you do attach, you might find yourself watching something and go, okay, right, now I need to think about this. Maybe I need to write it down. And then you just get too caught up in it, So if you are truly interested, it will flow naturally. You will catch onto things.
Yeah. Fam, the amount of podcasts I see where I'm like, "Rah, should I just start doing a podcast where I'm talking about body counts and like and DMs and all?" But then I'm like,
Oh
nah,
my
that's not.
gosh.
I'm not super interested in that. Do you know what I
You
mean?
can ask me whatever, but yeah, if it's not you, don't do it. You know.
Bro. um,
I'm a saint.
yeah, we all are, man. We all are. Come on.
Mm.
Anyway, moving on. Moving on. Because
Swiftly.
I know people will be listening to this.
Mm.
Um, so a lot of people can find it difficult to, start new things, and not necessarily because starting is hard, but because what they're trying to go into, what thing they're trying to pick up, they know will have really hard plateaus that they're gonna hit, really like frustrating and challenging plateaus. And obviously, as a skateboarder, with that particular area, there's that risk of being embarrassed physically from falling over, or just even injuring yourself badly if you make mistakes, right? Like
Yeah.
that's quite a big risk that isn't maybe there with other skill sets like, painting or recording music or any of those other things. There's not that same risk of having those things happen to you. So how do
Yeah.
you handle that potential for failure and or danger when you're practicing? Because obviously it's always there. So what do you do to like manage that thought process of I'm gonna try this thing, but if it doesn't come
Yeah.
off, I could hurt myself badly.
Oh man. You know what? Skateboarding quickly teaches you that you can't think like that because it's that dangerous that, and I see this all the time and I've experienced it myself. If you're envisioning it to go a certain way, a lot of times it's going to go that way.
Yeah.
If you're before you've gone for a trick, if you're thinking, oh man, this might happen, that just might happen.
Yeah.
So I tell a lot of my friends, like, oh, if they're like, oh man, I can see myself, like, stop thinking about that and just go for it and commit to it. Because not being committed in the trick is 90% of the reason why you won't land it and you will injure yourself. I say 90% because there is that 10%. But if you want to have a better chance of not injuring yourself and landing tricks, you got to be more focused and more positive. And this is actually why skateboarding is so beautiful. I don't know if there's, obviously I'm quite tunnel with this because this is the only thing I found that I was so passionate about. But if you do skateboard, but then you have other areas of your life that you find challenge in, skateboarding actually helps that, because if you found a love for skateboarding and you stuck with it, this is going to teach you all the lessons you need for everything else in your life. It's a beautiful thing. It is. Skateboarding is, and obviously anyone else would just see someone rolling down the road with a skateboard under their feet and think, that guy has a beard on his face. Why is he still skating? You know what I mean? You just don't get it. You just wouldn't get it. You have to actually do it yourself.
Love for the game, innit? Love for the game.
100%, man.
Love for the game.
It's quite literally part of me. If I'm going to the shop, I'm thinking, let me skate to the shop. I don't really want to,
Rah.
Yeah. It's like that.
All hours.
Yeah, man. And there's a shop around the corner from me that I like going to, and I have to walk uphill. So I usually carry my board uphill, go to the shop, looking forward to the downhill.
Yes.
So that I can just drop my board down, take a few pushes, and I'm just gone. And again, that's what I mean about just like, it just creates a whole different world for you that no one else will really experience, So.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned there about like visualizing positives happening, I think a lot of people speak about, I know Conor McGregor, your guy from UFC, or used to be the guy.
Yeah.
He's talked a lot about when he was, he's done his thing and now he's drifting out and letting someone else take the crown, But I know there's a lot of talk that he's talked about visualization, and to be fair, I'd say it's a similar thing where you can get hurt badly in that,
Yeah.
in performing that skill. Like, it's not just making mistakes, it's also, if you make a mistake, it could be very costly,
This is why I'm so drawn to watching UFC and fighting, because these kind of things, they force you to have this mindset. Because there's the danger factor. There's your body is at risk, especially these fighters. Their mind is at risk. You know, they lose consciousness. So, yeah, it's the ones where you're forced into thinking about it. You don't get the leisure of sitting back and thinking, oh, you know what? I feel like, you know, it's just, yeah, you either learn the hard way, or yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, man. No, it's definitely something to take on board as well. Like, even trying to create, for those of us who are following passions or skill sets that are not dangerous, trying to embody like some form of danger within that to create that feeling of like seeing it positively. That might be something that's quite helpful. Yeah.
This is why I like teaching it too. Sorry, real quick.
Yeah, no.
This is why I like teaching it, because you can literally bring a random civilian. I teach kids, I teach adults from no experience on a skateboard. They're scared of falling over. They're scared of injuring themselves. And I encourage them to get used to falling over, because when they do, they realize, oh, I'm just scared of something that isn't so bad, you know? Pain isn't so bad. Falling over isn't so bad. You know, it just naturally teaches you to overcome these things.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Obviously, inevitably for everybody, because we're not invincible, unfortunately, we will fail and get injured, as you said. I think even you've mentioned just before we started that you've actually got an injury at the moment, right?
I do, yeah. I'm healing from an ankle injury. I rolled it real bad.
Yeah. When those things happen, or as it's happened to you now, and over the years, I'm sure there's been other moments where you've picked up an injury or something that's had to stop you from skating. What have you? Yeah, I can imagine, bro. What have you done to recover both physically and mentally so that you could keep going and improving? Because to me, it would seem as though when you actually have something, it can be easy to look at it as evidence of, okay, I've broken my arm, damn. Like, if I do that again, I could do it again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you navigate that after it's happened?
So I do know a lot of people are so addicted to skateboarding. It really does have that effect. So I know a lot of people that are so addicted to skateboarding that when they do injure themselves, they almost feel like they've lost a part of themselves. They can't function without a skateboard under their feet. So it does affect some people's mental if they don't come correct with it, you know. But I have a slightly different approach because of who I am. I've been searching inwardly, which has heavily been influenced by skateboarding, but other stuff out of it as well. So every time I injure myself, it's I use it as a new obstacle, a new learning curve. And this time round, it really did prove that I had learned everything that I had learned previously, because as I did the injury, it didn't even compute as there was no thoughts, really. I wasn't thinking about all the stuff that I would usually think about, like how long is this going to take to heal? Is this going to keep happening to me? And, you know, like 2019, I had so many injuries, like one after the other, and they were all my worst injuries to that point.
Jesus Christ, like what, one after another?
100%. 100%. In fact, I went 16 years without fracturing a bone, without breaking any sort of bone through skateboarding.
Wow.
On the 16th year, I fractured my ankle, my wrist, 2 of my fingers, and then split under my eye. My skateboard whacked my face here. And then the year after, just before the first lockdown, I split my face here and needed stitches.
Raw.
I know. right?
And you're still out there, right?
Bro, I have to say, you know what? None of it defeated me. I tell you, the love for skateboarding that you find is just, it overcomes it all. Like you could be injured and just hardly able to walk, and all you're thinking about is the next time you're able to jump back on that board. It's that deep. But it does. It either makes you or breaks you, because this last injury, after all those injuries, I was just right, cool. I've been through this before. There's a method to it. I need to rest. You know, what's initially called rest, ice, compress, elevate. Just take all the steps in order to bring me back to skateboarding as soon as possible, without thinking about anything else. Because no thought or worry or stress is going to help at all. You know, it's just do what I need to do, get back to where I need to get back to. I'm going to continue skating, and that's it. So, it can make or break you, really.
So you're really quite patient with the process of. From the sounds of it, it's almost like you've made the injuries part of the process itself.
Yeah,
of
because you're gonna injure yourself. You're gonna injure yourself, and it's just about how you can reduce that and how you can heal quicker from it the next time. You know.
Yeah.
You see a lot of pro skateboarders. They're always on their physio, even while they're not injured nowadays. You know, to keep them on par, on form. And it's important. It's important to look after our bodies. Unfortunately, skateboarders don't look after their bodies so much, but hopefully that'll change around at some point. We're so free. We're so free. We don't care about much, you know. We just go out and do our thing and break our bones, then don't allow it to heal properly, come back, you know.
And then just double down on the things that are weak.
Yeah. That's why I like to promote wellness as much as I can. Mental, spiritual, physical. I like to promote it as much as possible, just so, because it's not seen as, you know, cool to look after yourself. It's seen as, he's talking about that again. I just want to change that, because it's important to look after your body. We've only got one, and we want to do it as long as if we do love skateboarding, we want to do it as long as we can, you know?
Yeah, man, facts. I'm a big fan of like wellness and, you know, looking after yourself. You're the only thing you're gonna have in this life.
Exactly.
So, yeah, like,
and it's not getting any younger.
Fam, trust me, the guts coming through, the back starting to, things that you hurt a bit longer than usual. Like,
you can correct a lot of these things, man. You can correct a lot of these things.
Yeah, trust. I know they say like late 20s, as soon as you hit 30, early 30s is, you know, if you don't get started then it's gonna get even harder. So
you might as well start as soon as you become aware.
As soon as possible. Trust me, I'm trying to do them stretches in the morning and just keep flexible as well, because, you know, it's mad. When you're a kid, and you're just doing all these things, you're thinking, how are people getting stiff though? Because you can go jungle gym and you can play football. But when you get older and you got all these responsibilities and life just hits you, it's very easy not to be active, man. Very easy. Just not to even be active, let alone intentionally look after your body. So
even with skateboarding, when I started, it was like all the flexibility was there, the power was there, like everything was there. And if you injured yourself, it would not take longer than a week. That was the worst injury, a week. Every other injury is there and it's gone, you know? And then you start becoming aware of the body you're in as time happens. But there are definitely things that you can put in place to create longevity.
Yeah. What would you say those things were for you?
Big one, controversial one, going vegan. That helped so much.
Yeah, like noticeably in your body?
Noticeably, in my performance, in the healing time, in a lot of things. Obviously, you have to do it the right way. Can't just be eating bourbons. and hey, it's Veganuary if you didn't know. So like KFC, McDonald's, Burger King, Pizza Hut, Papa John's, all these places are bringing out stuff. If you want to live that lifestyle, might not help as much. But
Yeah.
good for options, but not so good for longevity. Obviously, I dabble in the latter, but I have a mix between the two. But it's definitely helped in a big way for me. So I'm glad that I did that. I use CBD products.
Okay.
So that's helped me with this healing recently. I'm hooked up by this brand that's based in Poland called Riakira. So yeah, I've got the rubs, I've got the oils, whatever you need, I got it. What else? Physio is important. Stretching, strength and conditioning. So making sure that you can bounce back quicker.
Yeah.
Those are my main ones, I think. Actually, if you have heard of Wim Hof, cold method.
Oh yes, Wim Hof method, the breathing technique method,
the breathing techniques. I don't use the breathing techniques as much. I meditate a little bit, but it's the cold showers for me. When I had a bathtub, I would chuck cold water in there. That's how I started, just jumping into a bath of cold water. Then it got a bit more intense as I got more used to it. I chucked ice into this cold water, and I would just lay in there for 5 to 10 minutes. And that was really helping me. I don't have a bath at the moment. So when it's hotter, I will just have a cold shower. These days, when it's really cold, I will still put cold on, but I'll put it on at the end of my shower. I'm so used to it now. I've done that for years. That helps as well. But I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty about it. Like, if anyone's interested, they can look it up. Look up Wim Hof. Look up cold method and cold showers and that. So yeah, I really do this wellness business, man. I really do it because.
And for those people listening, if you want to get coached up properly, you got the guy over here. Man doesn't just know the tricks on the board. Man's got the wellness for you as well. So
100%, man. 100%. Because skateboarding is gonna break you down. So you either you accept that you're just breaking down, or you do something about it. So I'm doing something about it.
No, I hear you, man. I hear you.
Yeah.
So I feel like moving on to another question I have for you. I feel like there's a big difference between like just being the thing and living as like, okay, I'll just do skateboarding as my little hobby, or not hobby, but like, it's not attached to me so much, and like I'm not trying to be the guy, versus, okay, now I'm on social media and I'm making content about this and I'm saying this is my lane publicly out there, boom, this is me, this is what I'm holding myself up to the world as. It's quite big. I'd say it's quite different, and you touched on it a bit earlier about making that switch for yourself, right? So and then going on platforms and showing everyone what you're doing. And what gave you the confidence to start making that content and start embodying that part of yourself, and really putting yourself out there to the skateboarding community? Like, I'm here and I'm that guy. What was that for you?
Again, it wasn't like none of these were really a thought. It was just, this is who I am. And the person I've always been is, you're just gonna know. I've always been quite an expressive, quite verbal an individual. So I've always just been like, this is who I am, like it or don't, So I've never really had a fear of being who I am. So yeah, it was just, I'm proud of this, so I'm posting it up. I'm filming these clips. I'm having fun. This is what I've created, And then obviously, as you improve and as you manifest more with that, more comes with it, But it's not like I was working. It's not something I worked towards. I worked towards sponsorship. I worked towards feeling like I was worth sponsorship. But I
Yeah.
didn't work towards people having eyes on me and all of that other stuff.
Yeah. Would you say that being being active with social media and making content was necessary for the for sponsorship? Like, was that a
It helps.
necessary? Yeah.
It helps. It's not how it started,
Mm-hmm.
but it definitely helps. How it started was actually funny. One of my friends, he this is like, Liam, you're just at Seven Kings too much. You need to get out there. You're gonna get stuck here, and you're not really gonna improve because it's not like sparking creativity. You're doing the same tricks. You're at the same park doing the same thing. And I was always quite limited because of parents saying you can't go too far. At some stage, yeah.
The
And at some
classic,
stage,
yeah.
when I was old enough, I was like, the world is mine. What am I going to do with this? And that always stuck in my head that I need to explore and I need to go to new places and venture out. So I remember it was my 19th birthday, 10 years ago. Oh my gosh.
Mad.
It's my 19th birthday. I decided to go to my land. I left the girl that I was with at the time at home, and I went out and skated. She wasn't happy with it, but I needed that. That was the beginning of going somewhere with my skate career. Not that I realized that was going to go anywhere, but it was just me venturing out and finding a new version of myself, you know. And since then, I just like going everywhere. I don't like skating one spot too much. So one day it's Clapham, the next minute it's Canada Water, the next minute it's South Bank, the next minute it's down the road at Victoria Skate Park. You know, I like to utilize skateboarding for the way it is, which is so diverse. You can skate anywhere. That why not? Why do you limit yourself to one place? And you can. That's the beauty of it. You can if you want to. If that resonates with you, you can just stay in one spot. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah.
Yeah. So you found it very helpful, and it makes sense to put yourself out of your comfort zone, because I guess when you go to these different skate parks, there's different things that are there, and you have to get used to the obstacles and what you can use there, and it presents a new challenge.
A different kind of creativity, definitely, because you have a different obstacle in front of you, so you don't want to do the same trick, and you might want to do the same trick, but there's other things for you to do, and so it was half because I wanted to improve, and half because I was just utilizing skateboarding for the way it is.
Yeah, that's sick, man. It's I think that a big lesson there is just putting yourself outside the comfort zone, really. Because like you said, could have been very easy for you to just stick to, Seven Kings. This is my domain. This is my kingdom, my territory.
Who knows? If I hadn't been told that, I might not have realized. But it was one of my friends being hard on me, basically, and saying, "Look, you're stuck." And that resonated with me because I was getting better and I did want to do something with it. And I wasn't really sure what, but I just knew that there was something for me in this.
Massive, man. Actually, speaking on your friend giving you that bit of harsh feedback, reflecting on myself and with this podcast now, I've not had like the mad harshest I've not had like the mad harshest feedback yet, and it's probably because I'm early and not a lot of people have listened to it yet being the key word.
Of course.
So I've not really had to deal with it as much in this arena. But for you, obviously, being in the game being in the skateboarding game as long as you have, and especially now that you're making content, so it's easy for people to see what you're doing and feedback on it. How do you generally deal with the potential of people in the community questioning, your technique or your ability, or just general negative feedback at all, if it's something that you've had? How do you mentally navigate that when it's about the things that you're doing with a skateboard specifically?
Well, skateboarders always have their own way of addressing these things. Some people are more supportive. Other people, their way of being supportive is by sounding like a douchebag, basically. And you have to just become kind of neutral to it all. See that it comes from like good intentions. Some people are a bit too forward with it, but you just have to take what you need from it, really. If it resonates with you, that's what's most important. Sometimes we get caught up too much in how something's being said. We receive it in the wrong way. Maybe we receive it the way it was sent to us, but that's not so useful. I think as long as we know ourselves and we know where we're going, you just gotta sift through and pick apart what you know what will resonate with you, what benefits you, and leave the rest.
When because obviously at certain moments for all of us, something someone says is gonna, just hit the ego a little bit and just rattle it. So how do you then pick yourself up from there? How do you deal with the challenge of like when your ego's been hit? And you have to pick out what you can from those like harsh comments. Like, how do you come back? How do you like manage yourself internally when that's happened? Like when you've been hit?
By the time that I was getting a lot more of it was when I was more seen. But at that point, I had really been on the journey to find myself. So when these things did come about, most of the time I did address it pretty well. Like, didn't allow it to get too far. But there's been a few occasions online that I've really touched buttons, and it definitely presented a new challenge because I'm a verbal, expressive person, so I just like to I like to put things on blast. So I did initially put it on stories, and it just got out of hand. That was a difficult week for me.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
No, it's cool. It's cool. You can laugh if you want. It's fine. It's better to put a smile on the face than anything else, But it was a difficult week for me because there's a lot of things were twisted against me after that, and like a lot of people were on my case. People had no idea of what had happened or nothing like that. And but again, I experienced it and I used it for its lesson.
Yeah.
And because if you don't want if you're experiencing something and you don't want it to happen again, you have to do something. You have to take responsibility and do something different. Otherwise, you're happy for yourself to experience the same thing again. So I definitely learned from that, and that will not be happening again.
Yeah, guys. If you didn't clock already, the lesson here is: if you're vexed, leave the story function alone and just sit down. 100%. Leave your phone locked and just put on this podcast and listen to this to calm down.
I watched the video of Drake recently saying he's got a 72-hour rule because of something his mum told him. He's like, he'll see a meme made about him and he'll be upset, and his mum will be like, look, 72 hours, let them go past. You won't care about it. You might be upset the next day. The day after, you'll be a little bit less upset, and then it will go. And then someone will have done something stupid, and everyone else will have forgotten about that and move on to the next thing, And so, big up to Drake.
Man, like Drake come with the gems, 72 hours, yeah? I mean, to be fair, with the way the internet moves, like, they're on one person 1 minute, and then someone, like you said, someone else, everyone almost completely forgets that they were just having a barrage, like attacking this person, and it's on to the next one. So I hear you. So I want to move into opportunities now. And one of the things which really surprised me was how quickly I could get certain guests on the podcast just by making quite a few. So initially when I started, I spoke to a lot of people that I saw were doing good things in their space and that I was also friends with. But slowly but surely, I started reaching out to others that weren't necessarily in my network and were doing big things. So I had the opportunity to have one of Gary V's videographers on my podcast.
Nice.
Yeah, I had a few other people like Cheyenne Reynolds from Grilling. Shout out to her. Shocker the rapper as well. Managed to get him to jump on the podcast. And you know, those are opportunities that wouldn't have come if I hadn't have started and applied myself and been consistent, right?
You hear it here, guys. Just start.
Yeah.
Just start.
So I'd be curious to hear what opportunities have come your way, because we've spoken about sponsorships and things of that nature. It would be great to hear about what has come your way through skateboarding and also the content stuff. And then also, if you've had any other opportunities, for example, getting to work with people that you've admired in the past or things of that nature. I'd love to hear what opportunities you've been able to create and any lessons that have come from those.
Man, everything. My whole life since I became 21 and finished my first job working at the NHS, everything that I've experienced has been through skateboarding. And I mean, I've done adverts. So basically, I got into the acting / extra world through just being scouted, skating around South Bank. So the first gig I got was a McDonald's gig in an advert.
Where you were skating in the advert?
I wasn't even skating. They wanted skateboarders, but they didn't even get me to skate. I sat there for 2 hours and I got paid a decent amount.
Okay.
Yeah. And since then, I was with that agency and they got me more work. And then I got with more agencies that got me more work. And man, just through skateboarding, I've met Craig David. I've been in James Bond. No Time to Die. I'm in that.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning. Yeah,
it's gonna be hard to remember all the gigs that I've had, but it's a lot, and it's a lot of big names that I've met, and yeah, I mean that has just built my confidence up a lot as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I've made a lot of friends through skateboarding. I've made a lot of friends through being an extra as well, and it's all stemming from skateboarding, you know. What is it? What isn't? You know. Yeah, it's everything that I've experienced. Everything, and it's a lot. Skateboarding has done a lot for me. Even the lessons I'm doing now, I would have never thought about teaching anything, but I've got to that point now where it just made sense. Because of course, sorry, I was working at Better Extreme, which is an indoor skate park.
Yes.
That kind of branches off from Better Gym, which are all across the UK. I was lucky enough to work at the first Better Extreme that held a skate park. So from it opening for the next 3 years, I was working there. They trained me as a skate coach. I learned a lot of the ropes in the skate / business world. And it's just created a lot of opportunity for me. And I think whatever it is you pursue, stick with it and the fruits will come, but you just need to not think about it too much. Just love it and keep going. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. Some really good lessons.
Yeah.
We're coming towards the end of the podcast, but I've got a few questions that I'm curious about, and especially because you're a coach, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of nuances in coaching in skateboarding rather than just self-teaching that you need to take into account. And I'm curious because I've actually got a pair of rollerblades and I really want to get better because I see a lot of people around where I live in Stratford on rollerblades, and also got a few friends that are really, really good.
I can plug you. If you want lessons, I know someone I can plug you
I
with.
mean, that would be sick when the weather's looking better than what it is right now.
Yeah. But I mean,
um,
they probably have some undercover spots you can go to as well. You
true,
never
true,
know.
true.
It's just down to when you want to go.
Yeah. I guess the point I was getting to was I'm a bit shook myself because, you know, man's getting older. I'm scared to get injured. I feel stiffer, like just as I feel stiffer in the sense that, like, I don't know if I'll be able to maneuver or do certain maneuvers and all those things. So what advice would you generally give to somebody who's older, who has all those fears, where, like, to get started with rollerblading or skateboarding? Because I feel like risk, in terms of risk, you know, I'd say outside looking in, it's kind of similar.
Yeah.
What things as a coach would you recommend to help people get over that mental bridge?
Just start. That's the main thing. Because as we said earlier, if it is a sport that is dangerous and you have decided that you're going to see it through, it will force you to become more flexible if that's what you need to do, or overcome the fears if that's what you need to do, or overcome fear of injury if that's what you need to do. But then the other thing is find a good coach. You know, if it is really that intense, but the desire is also there, find a good coach, and the coach will lead you in the right direction. You know, they'll tell you everything you need to know, and don't be scared to ask. Put yourself around other people who are doing the thing or have been doing it for a while if you're not going to find yourself a coach, or just do the latter, you know. But yeah, I think those are the main points that I'd say. Yeah. We're at a point now where these things are actually being coached. So in the last few years is the best time to start something like this, because coaching wasn't really a thing. Skateboarding coaching, rollerblade coaching, quad skating, whatever, wasn't really a thing before. You would just pick it up and either follow it or pick it up and put it back down, you know?
Yeah.
So these days, if you want to, it doesn't matter what age you are, if you want to go get at it, there's more ways than ever to do so. So
yeah. 100%, man. I'll definitely be looking into coaching, because boy, I just want to skate backwards, fam. I just want to skate backwards on the open road,
so fun.
and feel like I know, yeah, I've got this. If I need to just slow down, I can just, you know, do. I used to have a friend, or I have a friend who used to, shout out to Neji. He's been on the podcast as well. He used to rollerblade back at uni when, like, rollerblading was just not as much of a thing to me anyway as it is now. And he would go to Lidl and do his shopping on rollerblades, bro. It was hilarious. But at the same time, I was looking
in the shop.
In the shop, man's on his rollerblades.
I used to do that on my skateboard. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I used to skate around Asda and all that.
Man.
And I would do it in such a way where I'd make it seem like I'm not causing any trouble. And then a lot of times people would leave me alone.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that shit's impressive, and I'd love to be able to do that. So yeah, man, one day get a coach, and then who knows.
I can plug you, man. I can plug you.
Safe, man. I appreciate that. So yeah, I noticed that you have a YouTube channel, actually, and as well as your Instagram page, and I noticed you've been uploading a lot of content around, like, self-reflection, self-improvement, and that kind of style. And I'm just curious, actually, because when usually there's a spark for people in their lives, or there's moments that have brought them to a place to even think about life in that term, and really take it seriously. Because I know for myself, 10 years ago, if I was listening and consuming the content that I am now, I'd be like, what the fuck is this? Like, bruh, what is all this shit, man? Whereas now I have
yeah.
a real appreciation for it, and it always tells me that, okay, someone's had like a moment that sparked this. So I'm
Yeah.
just curious, what's that been for you?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that before I get into it, because yeah, it's like sometimes when I'm saying the things I'm saying, I'm like, at what point did I learn to verbalize myself this way and verbalize these things, these words? I do have that quite a lot. Anyway, I'm not going to get too far into it, but there was a point where I was in a club in Romford, and this guy ruined my whole night. set me up in life in terms of who I am now, but ruined my whole night. Told me about some stuff. I'm not gonna mention too much about it, but told me some stuff that woke me up to the reality of the world that we live in. And it's something that had never occurred to me. So the depth that he found himself going into this with, but as he was explaining it to me, the life drained out of me. And I went away and became a fanatic and looked so deeply into the stuff that he was explaining to me. And the fear just got worse and worse. And the way I was living and how I felt within just wasn't how you want to live. It's not how you want to be going day to day. And the things that I was thinking just wasn't pleasant. And then there was a point where it got a bit too much, and I was like at peak fear. And I was thinking to myself, I just had a premonition. This is where I guess you could say I had my first wake up call. I was just like, I'm in fear 24/7. Because I was anticipating some sort of catastrophe, 2012, whatever.
Yeah, right.
And I was fully involved in that at that point. And I just had this premonition. I was like, you know what? Look, if there is going to be this huge catastrophe, whatever, then until then, I might as well just use this life to be the best me I can, to live the life I have, that I've been blessed with, as fruitful as possible, really. That changed my life.
Yeah.
Because from that day onwards, that led me to make every decision that I've made for myself. And I haven't steered away from that path since. That's what led me to be and express the things that I say to this day. Is that make the most out of your life. Because if you are depressed or anxious or fearful or whatever, and that's consuming you quite often, you have to eventually realize you're blessed with life. You're alive. So you might as well make most of it. What do you know what I mean? Like, what else is there? So yeah. So I'm grateful for the fear.
Yeah, the fear was a necessary
100%.
100%.
I'd probably still be the same Cheddle Heath Liam if I hadn't experienced that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you would say that just being grateful for life, is that the most important lesson that you've learned in your like period of reflection then?
Yeah, I think gratitude wasn't the first thing that came to my head. I think naturally I was grateful for life, but it wasn't something that I was thinking about. I was just making the most of life,
Yeah.
I was just like waking up every day, and what am I doing? And most of the time it was skateboarding. I was so grateful that I had that, and I could just go out and practice. And Stratford was actually one of the main places that I was going at one point. At the old mall, when you were able to skate there, I was just going there every night, because it didn't matter if it was cold or raining. There was somewhere to go, and I was working on my craft. And yeah, it also allowed me to share the thoughts that I have, because I'm like, wow, all these things that I'm learning for myself through this path that I put myself on. I'm like, wow, this is all working for me. Like, I was doing this and this wasn't working, and now I'm doing this and it is working. I want to share this with other people. And that was a whole new lesson in itself, But Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to the old one in Stratford. For people who
Trust
don't
me.
know and that are listening, it's a mall in East London, Stratford. And a lot of people would go there to skateboard and rollerblade as well, right?
Yep. And break dance.
And break dance in the
Yep.
evenings, innit? In the evenings.
Yep. Yep.
And it's so funny because that community has been killed off, basically. Like, metaphorically, that doesn't exist in the mall anymore.
I was there the day that they cut it off.
What actually happened there? Just quickly, like, what actually happened, and what did everyone choose to do? What did the community? How did you guys respond to it?
Unfortunately, there's a lot of skateboarders that like to cause a lot of trouble.
Right.
I'm not going to say that we are the main ones, the main culprits, but we definitely didn't help. There was obviously a lot of other drug dealers and stuff and whatever, but police just came and knocked it off and said there was just too much going on. And there was some, although in terms of the worst situations that happened, it wasn't skateboarders. You know, when it came to knife crime and stuff, which I was there to see some of, that was to do with rollerblading. That wasn't related to skateboarding, because skateboarders, yeah, we cause our little problems and whatever, but we keep it within ourselves. We don't branch out and, you know, cause problems with other people. So,
fair enough, man.
But yeah, police came and blamed it all on skateboarders.
Well, that doesn't surprise me, does it? Those fuckers.
No.
Anyway, moving on from pork. We're coming towards.
Yeah, because I'm vegan.
Yeah, exactly. Can't be eating none of that shit, man. Anyway, yeah, coming towards the last question, I'm just curious to hear because you know, you've been in the game for a long time, and you know, you're still very much passionate about skateboarding, and I think it's a testament to how true a passion it is. But I am curious to know, do you have any goals for yourself in the skateboarding world that you still want to achieve right now? And yeah, just be curious to hear that.
It's definitely changing as I'm changing. I do still want to make another full-time video part. So like video part, I've explained this to you prior, is when you just go out into the streets and just get creative and do your best stuff and just put it into a nice, well put together video. I have the intention to make at least one more of those. And at least. What else? I maybe want to compete a bit more. And yeah, I want to inspire. I want to inspire like the youth. I you know, in case, because it's easy to go astray, and I've noticed that I'm a figure in the skate world now. Some people look up to me in a certain way, so I just want to more than my own personal goals. I just want to make sure that I'm setting a good example and one that, you know, yeah, is a positive influence.
Definitely, man. Like even just seeing what you're doing, even though it's a different skill set to mine, like it's very inspiring to see how consistent you are, to see how, like, that you're putting yourself out there, and yeah, it's very inspiring to me, just as a like reminder, keep going, just keep like working on your craft, you know, like those little reminders. So no, man, cool, I on a personal level, I'm seeing that, so I appreciate that.
Cool.
And for the people that are listening that are thinking about starting something new, on a general level, what would you tell those people that to do if there's something that's like blocking them from starting? Maybe it's fear, doubt, or just procrastination. Like what things would you tell them to get them just over the line?
Set themselves a goal as to like maybe a date as to when you decide to go and do this thing. For me, I don't set dates per se, but I never let myself forget if there's something that I need to do, I never let myself forget it. And I always kind of like, every day I like build that up in myself more and more. I don't let myself slip. Like, I don't let it slip. No matter how long it takes for me to actually end up doing the thing, I have it within me, and I make sure that it stays there. And yeah, every day I wake up, I lead myself further and further closer to the goal. But maybe set a date and yeah, just work your way up to it. And then when it comes to it, just do it, you know? Literally don't think about it anymore. The thought didn't get you there, just do it, you know? So that would be my best advice.
Yeah, almost you force yourself a deadline.
Yeah.
And you have to meet it. Yeah.
But definitely don't forget. Keep it there. Keep it there. And
keep it in your hearts.
Yep.
Yeah. I hear you, man. I hear you.
Put pressure on yourself too, innit? Healthy pressure, but put pressure on yourself, you know? Pressure you can manage, but just so you know that there's something that you need to get done, that you want to get done. Yeah.
Liam, man, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast, bro.
It's been a pleasure to be on it.
Yeah, I've learned some really great things from you, and I think people listening can take a lot of value from your story and your journey. I even feel like we might need to do a part 2 as well. Go a bit deeper into some other stuff.
I'm here, bro.
At some point in the future. But for those people that maybe now thinking, all right, I might want to try the skateboarding thing, or they're just really curious about you and your journey, where can they find you? Where are the best places to find you? Let them know this is the chance to plug yourself in totality.
Oh, well, let's go. So the closest park to me is Victoria Park. So if you're close to there and that is a park that you would like to learn at, that's the best alternative for me. Otherwise, I do travel around London. So anywhere around London, really. Just a bit into Essex as well, I'm willing to go. And yeah, you're not gonna find any better teachers than me. Some people might have a problem with that, but that's just my take on it because of just who I am, how long I've been in the game, and how passionate I'm about teaching. I almost feel like I love teaching just about as much as I love skating at this point. Wow. I like helping others grow to become their best version and achieve their goals, you know. I like witnessing it. I like being part of it. And yeah, so that passion allows me to be even more engaged and we receive results a lot quicker, you know. I'm not one of them guys that's like, this is my job, so I'm here and you can learn in your own time. Usually I forget about it and I've taught you 5 things in one lesson, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, get at me. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, Liam Courtney. I've got an Instagram page as well, evolution.st. That's the skate school. And if you need boards, I sell boards too. Yeah, I'm here.
Jeez, man's got the full cycle ready in the locker. I'll put all that stuff in the description for YouTube and for Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., wherever you're listening to this on.
Thank you.
Liam, thank you very much for being on the podcast today. For everyone listening, thank you so much for being back on another episode 27, I believe. So we're creeping close to the, we're gonna get this to 100, man. I've set myself. We're gonna get these episodes to 100 at least before deciding where to go fully. But yeah, thank you again for listening, everyone, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bless.
Peace out.